Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast.
Here's a true behind the scenes podcast for you. Tropical storm, soon to be Hurricane Francine.
As of when this podcast is being done.
At the time of this recording of this podcast today is on the way. And you may or may not know that we are right in the path of it. We broadcast and we are based in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And so we're in the path of a hurricane. Mm-hmm. And so we're in hurricane prep mode right now. And it's a
Doesn't sound like it, does it? Sounds pretty calm for hurricane mode.
Yeah.
Well, when you've lived through hurricanes before, you know that you won't know what to expect until it lands, until landfall. You can base what your past knowledge is, but there's only so much you can do. And then you wait. Is it going to be wind that gets you? Is it going to be, flood waters? Is it going to be a storm surge?
Is it going to hang around a while and dump a lot of rain?
It looks like what we're hearing
through?
now is that it's going to move through quickly. Murphy, you said that a few minutes ago. I will tell you another thing, another behind the scenes thing is that our team, the three of us and some other people that we work with, like producer Faith and some other people, we will be here for that. We will be in this building for the hurricane because we work in broadcasting and we are doing things for the community, which is part of the gig. I can't remember, Murphy, a hurricane that we've never been in this building for since we've been married.
Yeah.
We work for hurricanes. And this is a 6-story glass building.
She doesn't mean instead of for money. We work for hurricanes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I know. We work during hurricanes.
That we work hurricanes. We don't go home and have the snacks and the parties and all of that.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. And actually, truly, for other cities that our show is on, we do that also, right?
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's right. It's exactly.
Yeah. But this particular, every time that the hurricanes are coming and there's one that we're in the path of, and I know I'm going to be in this building for it, I have that worry that I don't know if you guys are so aware of, that at the worst part of the storm, if I'm in this building, I get in the middle of the floor. You guys know that I get in the middle because these windows with wind, these windows sort of bend.
Which is what they're supposed to do, as we learned early on.
But it's
still
not a fun
freaky,
feeling for the floor-to-ceiling window to start bending toward you is not a good feeling. And then the feeling of it swaying, I cannot stand it. I can't stand it.
Well, you remember the first time that you and I, the only time actually, Jodi, that you and I went to the top of the Empire State Building in New York City. That building sways.
Oh, it did?
All the time. Yeah. I mean,
cool.
They have to,
to give.
They have to give. I don't know the engineering, architectural reason for it, but any skyscraper has to have the ability to move like that to a degree for some reason. So, but that's continuous. I mean, that's on a regular day, just as it is. But yeah, when you're in a 5-story building or a 6-story building that, has those, it's just different.
It's weird. It's not a feeling I enjoy. But I will say what's interesting about it is we've always been safe in this building for storms, even the worst ones. One of the memories that I have, and you would have to tell me which hurricane it was, the girls were up here with us, our children, our little kids, they used to come up here with us because it was the only way they could be with us. If we were safe here, they were safe here. I remember Phoebe was she was little enough to be on my hip, looking down from one of the windows. And do you remember what I'm about to tell? The back glass of my Toyota Sequoia blew out because of the wind in front of my face, in front of there were some words.
Oh,
do you remember that?
Was that the one where all of our windows blew out?
Well, there were rocks on top of the building. That the roofing, that style of roofing had rocks, which it does not have now. But that's what knocked all the wind.
I thought it was wind and rocks.
It was rocks, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I lost a window in that one too.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't remember that.
I lost a quarter window and a side window, and that one was different.
Isn't that crazy? I was a mom of young kids then, so it was all about trying to, I don't know, for them. I didn't put them in that car right away for a long time.
Yeah. That was in 2007.
So Phoebe was a baby. Well, 2 years old. Phoebe would have been 2 then.
Yeah. 2007 or 8, whatever it was. That was a hurricane called Hurricane Gustav.
Yes,
I think that was 2008. And But yeah, I mean, you hear about, and we were actually in this building when Hurricane Katrina came through New Orleans in this area. It's by far one of the, worst hurricanes of all time. But yeah, it is odd to be, and the thing is, first responders work during this kind of stuff too. You know what I mean?
People do.
Hospitals still have to keep going. I mean, you do have a number of industries where, if
this is when you're most
if you've
needed.
If you spent a lifetime, in one career that's related to that, you have probably spent storms and other, acts of Mother Nature, working.
What's funny about that is Jodi and I were talking a little bit about that, and it's like because of doing this, I don't remember a time of not working during a hurricane.
Yeah, I don't think that that exists.
It's like, what does it feel like to sit home and batten down the hatches and make sure everybody's protected and all that?
But the thing is, I do enjoy the public service part of it. I do think that it's like a responsibility for what we do, for all the days where you get to have fun and just share things that are going on in pop culture and real life and those kinds of things, to be able to also get focused in a moment where you are trying to do your part to help a community where somebody's lost their electricity or or needs somebody to reach out to law enforcement or emergency techs or something like that.
Get a boat over there and pick them up.
I can remember, though, this is the only other part of it. When the girls were little, it was hard for me to be here and be this person, the broadcaster, and be mom at the same time. Because, that was such a pull because they would be here. And, I remember a dry erase board and showing Taylor, just do some art. And I would constantly be in and out of the room, the studio, checking on the girls, because they were little. And I would bring as many toys as I could. And we would spend the night. We would sleep on the floor of Daddy's office, all of that. And to them, we should ask them, what are your memories of that? Because now they are young ladies and they don't have to do that. They'll be at our house for this. And they'll be safe and protected and taking care of our dogs and all that. And so that's wonderful. So that's something that's different for me. It was so much more stressful because I could never turn off mom mode. In fact, when they were scared of the weather, I was trying to calm them about it. Yet I got to go. I got to do, mommy's going to jump in here with Mr. Sam and Daddy. And so I'm glad that they're old enough to understand now, why I'm here and not at home. Yeah. Kind of a thing.
That was an interesting time to learn to parent in very different ways because they will, your kids model your behavior. And so if you're panicked, which of course we weren't, then they would be panicked. But I think that they were fairly calm through all of it.
Well, yeah, it was a play date to them almost.
Our youngest, Phoebe, was way too young probably to even remember when all that happened. And that was an interesting, too, but that storm actually knocked the studios out of,
I'm talking about all the storms.
Maybe the studios still had power here, but wherever we were staying at that moment after that storm, we didn't have electricity. I don't think our house was without electricity for almost 2 weeks after that storm.
Another part of that is the whole we're not at home. So are you in contact with your neighbors? Because we've done that, too, texting with my neighbors. Hey,
how's everything?
Is there a tree in my... Did any trees fall in the neighborhood? How's my house? Can you see my house from where you are? We have those, communications, and we've had those questions over the years. I mean, it's just a different way. Everyone experiences these sort of things differently, and every single storm is different. I hope this is not a flood event. I just hope that it's not a flood event. Flood water is just as damaging as fire. It's just awful, and I say that as somebody who's been through too many floods with my family.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
too many floods.
Yeah, it's the wind. I guess it depends on tornadoes. Really wind up being the difference maker. I think in a hurricane, a tornado spawned out of that is where you wind up seeing a lot of damage. But wind damage is a real thing. And people who are along the coastline, that coastal surge is so dangerous. The power of a wall of water, we've all seen what that looks like, after a storm goes through.
My mom also
living in
the
New
path,
Orleans.
Yeah, and she's been through more than all of
Her
us
share.
combined, probably. So I did text her and asked her what she was doing. staying home for the storm.
Yeah.
I still have 2 dogs.
Yes. Your pets, look, if you can't just bring them somewhere.
Well, the thing is, she's got these tiny little dogs, and we play this game every time.
Sure.
It's like, I have a house with no one in it. They're 2 little dogs, just bring them. And then I get, come on up. With dogs? It's like, I've got everything, but she's set in her ways, so.
Right. And fast forward to.
And my brother lives
time
there
from
too, so they're.
Years from now, when you're not working for a hurricane, for a storm, Sam, if Sammy calls you and says, come over, and you're going to be like, I'm fine in my house, you're going to want to be in your home.
Yeah.
And she's been through in her home for almost every storm.
Oh, yeah.
So she's done this before.
She had a roof replaced in Katrina. They were out without power for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
During that one. So
That's
I mean,
another thing.
And she's, I always
so
hear about
hard.
the ones from the 60s. I remember this. You were a baby. Yeah. Okay.
And she has a point there. It's lovely that you offer, and we can offer the same thing to my mom, but she won't come.
Well,
and we have a whole house generator.
People feel safest at home. That's logical. That makes sense to me.
It's true. Plus, you want to know what's going on with your home. You don't want to be wondering with that big question mark. Hey, did a tree fall on my home while I wasn't there?
Yep. And another, direction on this, and of course, by the time the podcast, what we're doing and recording right now is going to be past history by the time we see what really happens.
Just an hour from
but
now.
The forecasting over the years has been a lot more accurate, although still things can, take a sudden turn.
Mm-hmm.
And the weird thing about the path of this storm right now is it's inching, the predicted path is inching closer to New Orleans than the first original forecast were. It's, what do they call that, cone? So New Orleans is like right on the east side of that cone, and Baton Rouge is on the, kind of dead center, and the cone is of 10 a.m. Central Time. But the forecasting and the models and what you see, what they call those spaghetti models.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I've really started to, to look at. Other than, I think the sign, of danger really is wherever Jim Cantori lands.
Everybody
wherever
knows
Jim
that.
travels is, yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. It's all over social right now.
Exactly.
Have you seen Jim? Is Jim here?
Yeah. So, but I'm really glad that the forecasting has improved over time, because for anybody that's lived in a hurricane-prone zone, and look, the same thing for Tornado Alley. It's those things can spawn really quickly, but the warning systems have improved so much over what they used to be, and gives people a chance to really prep and plan. And it's weird to me that they could predict that this storm was going to make this path 5 days ago when it was just drifting out of nowhere. It had no direction. It wasn't organized and all that. And I guess we'll see here in the next 24, 36 hours where it actually goes, if it follows that path. But I'm impressed by that kind of accuracy, just for the public safety part, more than anything.
Right. And the more that you've been through, going back to your mom, Sam, the more you know it could be anything. The story could be flooding. It could be wind damage. What kind of neighborhood do you live in?
Right.
Is there a lot of vegetation? There are a lot of trees. Have you ever stood outside in really heavy wind and then there are little sticks flying? It's horrible.
Well,
you
that's
don't want
one thing-
any of that hitting you.
Well, that's why you're not supposed to be outside during those.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. To
Right.
me, wind is just as scary, and wind is also what takes the power out so often,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've learned.
Especially for any neighborhoods that have above ground wiring.
Mm-hmm.
The neighborhoods with underground wiring, it's not that they're not prone to an outage, but it's not going to be a tree limb falling in that neighborhood
Right.
that knocks the power out. It's the older neighborhoods with the above ground poles and all of that sort of thing. So anyway, we hope that everybody stays safe, in the listening area.
And we'll be in this swaying building.
Right.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi podcast.